I want to talk to you guys about the problems with modern day books. I'm talking about modern day non-fiction books, specifically history books. I'm not talking about novels. The biggest problems that I see with modern day non-fiction books is that they get way too much into theory, they get way too much into the realm of possibility, they get way too much into coulda and shoulda. What could have happened, what should happen, instead of what happened. When I'm reading a book on history, I want to know what happened. When I'm reading a book on any historical event, be it something that took place thousands of years ago or something that took place in the 1990s, for example, the NATO war in Yugoslavia, I simply want to know what happened. I want to know the what, I want to know the who, I want to know the when, I want to know the where. That's it. But a lot of books start getting into, well, this could have happened, and it's possible that this took place, and this may have happened, and this is within the realm of possibility. And my goodness, it is a boring ass way to write. It is extremely boring, and quite frankly, it is a drag. It feels like it's just dragging on, and it feels very tedious, and it is tedious. The reason why it feels tedious is because it is tedious. And a lot of modern day books, a lot of them, they start talking about what may have happened and what could have happened, and this could have happened, and they start getting into things that are just beyond our understanding. Like, well, this one thing could have happened 65,000 years ago, and we found this finger bone somewhere in the Altai Mountains in Siberia, and we checked the DNA the DNA sequence of the finger bone and the DNA sequence of some of the teeth that we found in somewhere in the Altai Mountains. And the DNA sequence is very different from modern day humans. So we're concluding that that there was like an archaic race of humans, and they had their own civilization. And modern day humans could have come out of Africa, and then they could have entered Saudi Arabia, and then from there they could have entered the rest of Asia, or from Egypt they could have traveled into the Levant, or from East Africa they could have crossed the sea, the Red Sea, into Saudi Arabia, and from there they could have spread into the rest of Asia and then into Europe and blah blah blah, and people could have from there traveled up to Siberia, and they eventually went down to Australia, and there could have been this ancient race of humans that doesn't exist anymore, and all of a sudden it was like some primitive civilization when you had ape-like humans, and it was a planet of the freaking apes 65,000 years ago, and there could have been something like this, it could have been. And it's like, the reason why I think they always say it could have been this way, or it's possible that it was this way, or it's possible that it happened in this way, is because they know that they don't know what they're saying is true. And so if it's proven otherwise, if what they're saying is proven wrong, or just proven to be completely impossible, then they can say, well, I said it could have happened. I said it was possible, right? So they have this. They're always safe in this refuge of coulda. It's the realm of could have, and that's what it is. But it's just so annoying for the reader. Why is this annoying? Because I want to know concrete facts. I want to know the material. Like, this book is called Early Indians, right? It's written by this guy, Tony Joseph, Early Indians. And I'm about to finish the first chapter. And the first chapter is very, very disappointing. Now, in every book that I have read until I bumped into this one, the first chapter has always been the most interesting, right? When I read Voyin Yoksimovich's book, Kosovo Crisis, on NATO's policy in the Balkans back in the 1990s, the beginning of the book, very fascinating. He starts getting into the history of Albanian nationalism. He starts getting into the Ustasha. He brings up a very fascinating observation that I never heard of until I read the book. He says that the Ottoman Empire ruled over Serbia for 500 years, and the Ustasha, the Croatian Nazis, butchered close to 1 million Serbs in just a handful of years. So in just a handful of years, the Croatians did more atrocities than what the Ottomans did in also a handful of years. So that's like these Croatian nationalists were actually way more destructive than the Ottomans were. And so that type of observation is very informative. It sticks to your head. It's like, wow, this is very fascinating, because we always hear about the Ottoman Empire. Oh, the Ottoman Empire was so terrible, and it was, but we don't really hear a whole lot about the Ustasha and the Croatian fascists and all the destruction and horrific atrocities that they committed. But that was in the beginning of the book. It's fascinating. It's something that you haven't really heard of. And then you get into the middle of the book, which is also fascinating, but you get a lot into the details of what NATO was doing in the Balkans and the sort of inner happenings that were transpiring within the U.S. government and stuff like that. But still, the first section of the book is really interesting. Really interesting. This guy, the chapter, he is getting into what could have happened tens of thousands of years ago, and his whole theory about how the world could have looked like 75, 85, 150,000 years ago is based off of a finger bone that was found on the Altai Mountains. It's like, this is crazy. When I read Julius Caesar's account of his conquest of Gaul, Julius Caesar never gets into what could have happened, this should have happened, or this other thing possibly could have taken place. He tells us what happened. This battle took place. This Germanic tribal leader backstabbed Julius Caesar. This other Germanian went against his word, dishonored his word, dishonored his oath with the Romans, and slaughtered Roman soldiers. These Gauls made a treaty with the Romans and then broke it. These Gauls agreed to give away all their weapons to the Roman military, but they were hiding a third of the weapons in their fortress, and then they ambushed the Romans that night, and then there was a battle, and the Gauls lost. It's super, super fascinating stuff. There's no, it could have happened, it would have happened. And the reason why I don't like this type of language is, well, there's several reasons why. One, it's kind of weaselly. It's like, we all know that what you're saying is not concrete. What you're saying has not been proven 100%. So you hide in the refuge of could have and should have, or you hide in the realm of possibility, so that if any evidence comes out showing that what you're saying is just impossible, showing that what you're saying could not have possibly taken place, you can just say, well, I said it was possible, and that's it. So it's weaselly, but the main reason why I don't like it is because it's just boring. It's very boring to start getting into could have and should have. Like, I don't want to read about this. I got this book to read about ancient India. Now, I know that this book will get into ancient India, and I'm certain that it'll be very fascinating. But why do you have to drain the reader and bore the reader? Drag the reader on in this exhausting material, these exhausting paragraphs of opinions on what could have happened 65,000 years ago, a time, I don't think the world's 65,000 years old, but let's say that it is 65,000 years old. Or let's say that something did happen 65,000 years ago. How in the hell are we going to know exactly how the world looked like? So he has this idea that maybe modern day humans migrated into India 65,000 years ago, and already living in India were these archaic humans who are a different species of human, and there could have been a war between archaic humans and modern day humans. Like, how in the hell do you know that any of this happened? It's like, sounds like something out of the Planet of the Apes. So he says here, so the incoming modern humans would have taken a sub-Himalayan route across the subcontinent. The scientists posit. It's crazy. It's so crazy. Like, Julius Caesar talked about battles between tens of thousands of soldiers. You know, tens of thousands of Germanian soldiers would ambush tens of thousands of Roman soldiers, and they would have a huge, bloody, epic battle, and the Romans would win. And how much archaeology do we have of this? We do have archaeology of it, don't get me wrong, but is it in this huge amount of abundance? I don't think so. But yet, we're talking about something that could have happened 65,000 years ago, and we come up with these huge, graphic, vivid descriptions of how it could have looked like and what could have happened. And it's like, well, what type of evidence do you have to base any of this stuff on? I mean, we are shocked, and we are in a state of jubilation and exuberance when we hear about some Anglo-Saxon archaeology being discovered. Oh, we found an Anglo-Saxon helmet. We found an Anglo-Saxon sword, and we found a skull here and a skull there. It's like, we're very limited. I mean, we're very limited. Archaeology is very limited. But yet, we're talking about, oh, we found a half of a finger bone in the Himalayas or in the Altai Mountains somewhere, and the genes are a little bit different, and so therefore there must have been this archaic type of human, and then it was Planet of the Apes. And people will speak so confidently about this stuff, or they will just keep pushing theories. And it's the reason why it's so boring is because you don't know if any of this happened. You don't know that. I mean, the archaeology that we have for battles that took place thousands of years ago is limited enough. But yet people are pushing theories about what happened tens of thousands of years ago. And yet these very people will deny the historical events that are written about in the Bible. It's just crazy. It's crazy. It's just crazy to me, guys. Anyway, just wanted to get that out there. Just wanted to express my thoughts on this. You guys just heard some theology. God bless.